Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. You'll hear from players, coaches, broadcasters, and writers that cover the NFL on a daily basis. The New Orleans Saints podcast starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
This week, we're leading up to a primetime matchup, Saints at Kansas City on Monday night. The schedule has changed a little bit this week, so welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast on a Thursday. The Saints started practice Thursday and will practice Friday and Saturday before their walkthrough Sunday, and then heading out to Kansas City for that Monday night game at Arrowhead. A little different wrinkle this week as well is the fact that this game is outside. It's the first outdoor game that the Saints have had all season. So they've gotten out on the outdoor fields, the natural grass, out in the elements, so they can prepare for a little bit different atmosphere. And speaking of that atmosphere, we know that it gets loud in Arrowhead. Former Chief Defensive Tackle Colin Saunders gave us the lowdown.
It's one of the craziest atmospheres in football by far. It's loud. Obviously, it's not going to be as loud when we're on the field because we're the defense, but when the offense is out there, I mean, you can literally be right next to your partner and you're yelling and it sounds like you're not saying nothing. So it's different, you know, and then the stadium, it just vibrates when they cheering and doing all that stuff. So it's going to be a fun game, absolutely. And like I said, being in the Monday night game, night games in general, it's just, nights at Arrowhead is a great thing. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm very excited to play in it. You know, I'm excited. I've been telling my teammates this whole time, like, man, this is we getting the cream of the crop game right here. And so, you know, but that atmosphere is amazing, and we're gonna get this win so that when we come back to the Dome, it's gonna be like that.
The environment is one thing the Saints are going to have to prepare for. However, the biggest focus is on doing whatever it takes to finish the game. It's all the team has talked about since that loss on Sunday night to the Falcons. And the Chiefs, they've been winning the close ones. They are 4-0 this season. All 4 of their games have been one-score wins. In fact, they've won 7 straight by 7 points or fewer. Here's head coach Dennis Allen.
Look, nobody likes to live in the hypothetical world or the what-if world or any of that stuff. And yet we've had opportunities that we could be sitting here at 4-0. We're not. Okay, so that's the discouraging thing, is that to be a 4-0 team or to be a playoff team or to be one of those teams like that, we have to figure out how to finish and figure out how to win. And we're not there yet. We haven't done that yet. All right, but I think that time's coming.
Injuries will be another factor that could come into play on both sides. 15 players were on the Saints injury report Thursday, including Taysom Hill, Cesar Ruiz, Blake Grupe, and Willie Gay, who didn't participate at all. Demario Davis, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Brian Brzee, Taliese Fuaga, all part of the limited group. We'll continue to watch those injuries throughout practices this week before the team does head to KC on Sunday. And then obviously the big injury news for Kansas City is their wide receiver, Rashee Rice, being put on injured reserve today. Regardless of who is on the field for the Chiefs, you are dealing with quarterback Patrick Mahomes, who usually makes crazy things happen, and it doesn't matter who the playmakers on the field are. Someone who is going to try to eliminate any big plays and keep Mahomes out of the end zone is our own cornerback Alontae Taylor. I was able to catch up with him for today's podcast to break down the start of the season for Alontae, how the defense has really come together on and off the field this year, and what this upcoming game against Kansas City means to him. Alontae, thank you for jumping on the New Orleans Saints podcast for the second time. And we had you last season midway through the year. We're a quarter of the way through now. How are things going for you?
For me, they're going pretty good. Few things there, but I feel like I've improved a lot from last year and my rookie year as well. So far, so good.
You're from Tennessee. How is that area doing where you're from with the storm that came through?
My family is good. I think it's more so like East Tennessee area. I kind of reached out to a couple people. They're kind of just getting things together to kind of help those communities who did get hit. So.
Yeah. During training camp, people were talking about you a ton, just the way you were flying around. And then obviously the first couple games, the sack totals and everything, they're like, man, this is kind of like a new Alontae Taylor. We like this. He seems like he's really feeling himself in the nickel position. And now I've been seeing this celebration that you're doing.
Yeah.
The thumbs down. Yeah. Where did that come from?
I've kind of been doing it for a little minute. First time I seen it, this dude named Alontae Taylor. He plays for the Chargers now, but he was at Wake Forest, and this was this was COVID year when I seen him do it.
You stole this a long time ago.
Yeah, and so I had used it when we played Texas A&M. And then I just kind of kept it ever since then. But I did it my rookie year on a couple plays.
Yeah.
I did a few plays last year. And now that I'm kind of making the plays a little bit and the camera's a little bit more on me, they're starting to see it.
Okay, because I've been seeing other people do it too.
Yeah. Some people kind of just do like one, and some people just kind of put it up.
Yeah.
I put a lot of emphasis behind mine.
Not even just on this team, but other players, different levels and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. Yeah,
I had somebody send me a video the other day of a youth game out here, and a kid did it. And she had sent it to me and was talking about how her son's still in the celebration or using it. But it's not mine. Like, it's not something I just came up with myself. I kind of seen it before, so I'm just kind of using it. And if people want to put it to me, cool. But if not, like, nothing to it. Yeah.
You mentioned, making some big plays, 3.5 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, 4 PDs, and a forced fumble so far this season. How are you liking playing in space? It looks like it's going pretty well for you.
It's good. I'm having fun with it. It's definitely fun. It's better than, I guess, being on the outside where you might not be getting as much action. So it's definitely a playmaker's position, and Coach Woods kind of been preaching that to me since he got here. But yeah, the plays are good, but I feel like there's some plays that I also left out there where we could have been off the field on a couple third downs where they come into tackles. So I don't know, I kind of feel this way of like, I've been playing good, but it hasn't been enough to win these past 2 weeks. So it's like, is it good enough? And so I have to step my game up as well.
Everybody does, talk about those close games that you have to win, and you're going to have another one probably coming up against Kansas City because every game they've been in this year has been a one-score game. How do you win those close ones?
Man, I think you take advantage of the small opportunities that come to you. I feel like we kind of missed opportunities here and there in the past 2 weeks to where we shouldn't be in this position, but here we are. And it's like somebody has to go and make a play, and we just don't make the play, right? And so with this team, they're a team that if you kind of look at their close games, it came down to the other team making a mistake, right? Like they didn't fine in on the detail or whatever the situation was. And so for us, just focusing on making sure that we seize every opportunity that we get, because it might be that one opportunity, rather it's in the second quarter or it's the last play of the game. But football comes down to 1 or 2 plays that makes the difference. And you just try to make sure that your opportunity, when it comes, you make your plays so that you can at least check off that you made the opportunities come and you took advantage of those.
You mentioned not making enough plays. I know you're a perfectionist, so it's always going to be something out there that you want to achieve. But with the new, these blitz schemes and the way that Joe Woods is kind of dialing up some stuff for you guys, do you like using your speed in that regard and getting after a quarterback?
Yeah. I think sometimes I kind of get upset because it hasn't been as much as it was that first
please
game.
Dial it up every time.
Right. And so, I understand team scheme things, right? And we got to share the wealth with everybody. But definitely whenever that number gets called, I'm super excited. And I feel like if I come free, like it's just going to be an easy one. But when guys start to slide to me, it gives me an opportunity to kind of work my game. And I think a sack where I have to kind of beat a big old offensive tackle or a guard or something might be a little bit more special because my size to his size and what it takes to get to that. But it also comes with rush in coverage, right? So the guys got to make sure they're covering on the back end. That gives me the opportunity and a chance to do that.
Last year when we talked to you halfway through the season, you hadn't had an interception yet. And you said the guys were giving you a hard time about that. At this point this year, what would you still like to achieve that you haven't yet?
Getting an interception.
I know, you haven't had one this year. So.
Yeah. So getting an interception and just kind of putting numbers in those columns that I don't have them, right? So at first I only had, I think it was 1 PBU. And I'm like, how is that happening? We're kind of going into, I think at the time, week 3. But I wasn't even coming into this thinking I have to get X amount of sacks or I need X amount of sacks. It was more so I need X amount of interceptions. And that's the area that I don't have any yet. But, the opportunities when they come, I just got to make sure I take advantage of them. But I haven't really had a lot of opportunities to get interceptions. I don't think I've been in man-to-man coverage where there's been a chance for me to get a pick. But I know that's coming. We're still early in the year. So definitely get an interception. I want to get some more sacks, get that number up, and just more tackles. I think if I make the tackles that I've had opportunities to make then that number goes up as well.
I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's out here trying to make money.
Right.
So you're now in this position. It's outside corner usually makes a little bit more. Mm-hmm. But when we talked last year, you said that it's a position that you think is becoming more important in the league. And those players are still learning how to play that position at an elite high level. Mm-hmm. Do you think you're helping to kind of put that on the map a little bit?
Yeah, for sure. I was just talking to Kool-Aid about that earlier today, actually. And I kind of feel like right now, no one's playing the nickel position like I'm playing it, as far as the aggression, the physicality, the speed. And I think that, like you said, I think I'm putting it more emphasis on it to where teams can maybe find a guy or whoever their starting nickel is can maybe look at my game and implement a little bit of what I'm doing into their game. But I think the drop off from a corner payment to a nickel payment is crazy. Mm-hmm. And so, I'm just trying to do my part to if that's what it comes down to with getting paid as a nickel, and it's not being just extra $2 million difference than what the highest paid nickel is now, right? And so I'm just going to continue to keep my head down, make the plays that I need to make to help the team. And when we come to that, then we'll have that type of discussion.
You mentioned talking to Kool-Aid. That the cornerback room in general, Marshawn's not much of a talker, at least to us, and neither is Paulson. Yeah. So what is it like being on the inside of that group?
It's funny, like you said, they don't talk, but they talk to us. Yeah. Our DB room, we're a lot of just alpha males, but we don't bump heads too much. Everybody gets along. We're all trying to get the same thing, right? We're trying to just get money, make plays, and win football games. And so the camaraderie that we've built outside of the football field is probably the most important thing. I hate that it's year 3 for me and that we now have that. And I kind of thought that I would have that coming in as a rookie. But now you talk about Kool-Aid, Marshawn, Paulson, but you got to think about we still got J.A., Tyrann Matthews, Will Harris coming in. But we have a group chat. We always talking in. We trying to figure out ways that we can hang out outside of the DB room. And so we're doing stuff outside of the game now that I wish we would have done 2 years ago, but it's definitely helped. And you can kind of see that energy and how we play for one another and how we fly around.
What is an example of something that you guys have done that was different than maybe the first couple of years you were here?
First, I would say the LA trip really helped us because we kind of started a routine to where we all worked out as DBs in the morning before we had practice. And it was easy because there weren't any distractions, right? We all rode the same bus. It wasn't like people having to drive from their home. So it kind of started out there where we would work out as a group in the morning. All the DBs would work out. And then throughout the week, we'll come together and we'll watch tape. Like whoever we're about to play, we'll watch first and second down. And then on Thursdays as a DB or as a defensive unit, we all come together, eat wings, and we go through first and second down, and then we'll kind of add a little bit of third down in there. And so we're just kind of just hanging out and just doing the football stuff together instead of just doing it individually. Like not one person just going to work out by himself. You at least have 3 or 4 other DBs with you, and we're pushing each other in the weight room and making sure we're getting our lifts in, making sure we're eating right. And I think the routine is the right word for that, because in our group message, we kind of say we might be falling off the routine a little bit. We got to get back on that, right? And I feel like the past 2 weeks, the routine hasn't been where we had it before.
Okay.
And so that's just, and I think that just kind of comes with, being a human and driving from your home down and what time you go to bed or whatever it may be. You might have stuff at home that you got to handle before you come in. But we're being we haven't given each other grace with that, but we're going to definitely get back on that.
Yeah, I think that LA trip and everybody being together in training camp seems like the team in general is a lot closer and not just separated off in between position groups. No. It seems like everybody is kind of fighting for each other a little bit differently, holding each other accountable as well. With like the wide receivers and the quarterback, I mean, you always hear in the off season them going places and working out together. Is that something that defensive players do as well?
I've never seen it. I've never seen something like that. I mean, some guys will go down to Miami, right, and then you might have 3 or 4 guys in Miami working out or something. But there's a lot of things that I'm taking note of for sure as a young guy, and something that I want to implement into like the DB room whenever I kind of become that vet. I don't have the money like Jameis and Carr where they can fly everyone out or get everybody a hotel room or whatever the case is. But when I do, that's something I definitely want to be able to do, is kind of get everybody together and we all get my DB trainer out there. And I think he's one of the best in the game. And so we just work out together, maybe like 2 or 3 days, and I think that would be good for us. I know some other teams take DB trips. We do a little DB trip at the end of the year.
Okay.
But that's not about football. That's just kind of us coming together, kind of celebrating the time, right? But it's something I definitely want to implement into our DB room one day.
How are you helping bring Kool-Aid along?
I think the best thing I'm doing with Kool-Aid is allowing him to be himself, right? I'm not trying to control him or tell him what to do. I think the biggest thing, though, for Kool-Aid is he's open to criticism. He's open to learning. He's not a guy who's came in and is like, I got this. Like, I come from Alabama. I've won championships, and I was supposed to be a first-round pick. And he comes in and he's kind of like, okay, these are the guys who's done it, right? And whenever I talk to him about certain things, he listens. And he also helps me out, right? Like, he sees things that I didn't see. And we kind of have this little thing that we do before we go on the field, and we always remind each other, like, have poise, have good eyes, have confidence, play your technique. And we say to each other, like, nobody can mess with us. If we do those things, like, nobody can mess with us. And so, you know, in a game, you make a couple plays, you get turned up, you get excited, and then it might be one play that you have bad eyes, right? And so after I make a play, I'll look to the sideline, and he'll be looking at me, and he'll be like, let me know, like, have good eyes, be poised, like, play your technique. And so the young man that he is shocking. I ain't gonna say it's shocking. It's pretty dope, I guess I could say. Yeah. It's pretty dope because, I mean, he comes from a program where he played so many games, right? And he hasn't really had a lot of snaps. And so to see him handle this situation the way he's handling it means a lot to me. And like I said in my interview during camp, is if he would have came last year, I wouldn't have been the best example for him because I wasn't playing nickel and trying to play corner the right way. And now I'm in a whole different mental space. And so now I can kind of help him, and he can kind of see how I'm handling. Because I still tell him, like, bro, you know I'm still a corner, right? Like, I'm making these plays at nickel, but I'm still a corner. But it's dope, and I'm glad that he came to us, and we actually connected real quick and real tight. So yeah.
You're talking about, you know, staying locked in, but also liking to be aggressive. Obviously, you know, Dennis Allen, his defensive approach is that aggressive nature. You like that? Him kind of let you guys go rather than kind of keep you guys dialed back? And
nah, we like that aggressive stuff. I think that's just the style of defense that, you know, the Saints has had for a long time, and DA's been here for a minute, right? And he's had a lot of success with this defense, and I think those guys do a great job when it comes to the draft board with drafting guys who fit this system, right? Like, a lot of guys be shocked at who we draft or who we don't pick up, but it's like you have to fit the culture of just the whole city of New Orleans, but you have to fit the culture of, like, the style of defense that we play. You have to be a guy who can go out there on an island, play man-to-man, press up 90% of the time, right? And you have to be able to hold up. And so we love it. And like I said, I just want him to call a little bit more pressures for me here in this stretch as we go to kind of get that number up. But he knows what he's doing.
You can say it one more time if you need to. Like.
Yeah, I'll be looking at him on the sideline like, come on, bro. Like, I don't know if a team really blocked it up for real yet, right? And so it's going to come, though. And I know that he's going to feed the wealth to everybody so that everybody can make their plays. And so, like I said, we're only going into this week early on, so we have a lot more football to play.
Sure. Who's the hardest person on our team to lock up?
I'm gonna say Chris. Me and Chris go at it all the time, and Chris got me a few times my first 2 years for sure. And I think it kind of came down to him being, you know, I already knew that he was going to be the wide receiver one day for this organization, and I think sometimes I kind of spared him. Like with fade balls, not wanting to like go too aggressive or too hard.
And that's why he beat you.
Right. And I would go to Marshawn and I would be like, bro, like he just keep catching a fade on me. Like I'd be not trying to go to the ground or whatever. I'd be sparing him. And he looked at me, he said, you be what? And I said, I'd be sparing him. And he said, you think he's sparing you? I was like, nah. And he was like, okay, so you got to play ball, bro. Like it's football. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen. If not, great. Like that's, we don't want nothing to happen, but just play ball. And that's why I think this camp, being in LA, and being able to get away from everything and really lock in on the word or the phrase I keep saying is just putting it all together. And Chris has helped me get to where I'm at right now. And I see that every day whenever we go to games and I'm locking up some of the best receivers. I'm like, I got better like that because Chris ran routes the way that he runs routes, and he beat me on some plays, and I just learned from those. Mm-hmm.
Last year when we talked on the podcast, you said you felt about 65% as far as your technique is in the nickel position.
Right.
you said it took a lot more film watching to learn, because there's so much more you're responsible for in that position. Where do you feel like you're at now?
I'd say about 90.
Okay.
I feel like I got my technique down. I think I have a good grasp of good enough depth where I can play downhill. I tried some things out this past practice before we played Atlanta, and I applied them whenever we played Atlanta, and they worked. And so small tweaks, I'll never have it figured out. So I'll never say I have my technique up for sure. But compared to last year to this year, like, I would be wrong to say I'm from 65 to 70, or 80. My technique's improved a lot, and I think it just came with repetition and attacking those areas with OD in Atlanta, my DB trainer. Just attacking those areas and watching tape and watching film. It's crazy because we're about to play Trent McDuffie, and I kind of watched a little tape on him because he did a really, really, really good job playing the nickel position last year. And so, yeah.
All right, so I don't know when this happened, but at some point this season, I saw you're not on Twitter anymore.
Yeah.
When did that happen, and what went into that move?
I'm the type of player. I'm the type of person. I think I'm getting better with this, but I like to please people, right? Like, I don't like to disappoint people. And one thing about this game is that you're not going to make everybody happy, right? And so one thing I used to do, I did it really bad in college, was after a win or a loss, I'll look my name up on Twitter. No. And you see everything, right? And so my first year, my rookie year, I did that. I had a good year, though, so it's more praise than negative. And I think I got comfortable with that. And then when I got moved in at the nickel, I read so many things negatively about me. And I would always say, like, oh, that doesn't bother me. I'm just reading it. It doesn't bother me. But, I'm big with mental health, and I go to therapy. I go to counseling. And one thing I know now is that I have to be mindful of what I allow myself to see, read, hear. Because
it does have an effect.
It does. And some people will say it doesn't, right? Yeah. Like, you'll be like, oh, I just read that. They think that I'm a terrible player. But then somewhere down the line, whether at home or at practice or whatever, you start to think, like, am I actually a terrible player? Am I not good enough? And that one little bit of disappointment or negative thought can kind of change the way that your mood is. And so I decided that I was going to take over my own mental space. And by doing that, I got off Twitter to keep me from wanting to do that. And now I kind of see it, right? The first 2 games, we were balling out. And it was so much praise for the New Orleans Saints. The past 2 games, it hasn't been the best, so it's not the same. And it's just, the world is an up and down place. And so, since I've deleted Twitter, and I don't look my name up anymore, even when I had the 4 sacks or the 3 sacks or whatever, I take the love from my teammates and my family and my friends, and I just move forward, and it's been helpful. So I'll reactivate it, because after 30 days they just delete Twitter, but I'll reactivate it, then I'll go back and deactivate it again, so I get my new 30 days.
Well, I looked you up on Twitter.
Okay.
And this is some of the most recent stuff. So Ryan Clark, obviously, the Saints' Alontae Taylor is a menace, man. Kid is all over. And then the replies, some random person, absolutely fearless in pursuit. The collision between him and Bijan ain't something you see every day between a cornerback and a running back like that. One got a hell of a career ahead of him. Someone else, he's developed into a total stud. More people should be talking about Alontae Taylor. The one negative thing was somebody went off because apparently it's hard to play with you in Madden. Because your stats should be way better, I guess, than they have ranked you. But that's because things have changed this season. So I know Alvin Kamara got a adjustment on his ratings after a game this season. So maybe you have some coming too.
Maybe. Madden don't really like me too much. They got my face. That's not even me. Like, I did that whole scan thing at the combine, and it doesn't look nothing like me. But no, I don't even play games. I don't play Madden. So I let them just do whatever they want to do.
What do you do then with your free time other than watch film, I guess?
I'll just be chilling at the house, me and my dog. I got, his name's Mink, a little Frenchie. He's a character. He's smart, but he acts so crazy sometimes. But I just kind of kick it with him. My cousin stays with me right now, and so we just vibe. We kind of kick it. We watch football, and I just kind of just be in contact with my family for real. This is the best mental space I've been in. I live about 45 minutes away, so it's kind of hard to kind of get into action and kind of be out and about. So everything that all the sacrifices that I've made this offseason has came to this point, and so I'm going to continue to make those sacrifices because I think they'll pay off for me in the long run.
Yeah, I mean it's really hard to make the decision to think about the future and rather than what you want to do right now. To stay disciplined, and good things definitely come in. You mentioned that this was something you said before, that Mark Ingram was living the dream, something that you would want to do in the future is kind of be that sports broadcaster, that kind of person. You think you have the same personality as him though, because that guy is all over the place.
Yeah, no, Mark's a different cat for sure. I wouldn't have the same personality as him. I think I seen the other day, there was at UCF, and he like walked over to the guy to like show he had got UCF tatted, or like not tatted but shaved.
Yes.
And I think the producer or somebody was going to grab him, like, no, let's get back on the floor, like on the mat, so we can continue with the show. I definitely wouldn't do nothing like that, but Mark is. It was a blessing to even play with Mark Ingram. And, I remember playing NCAA 12 when he was like the cover, and seeing him win the Heisman and things like that, and then playing with him and the character that he has on the team, his personality. A lot of people may not know, but that's him every day.
Yeah.
Like good day, bad day, like that's him. And so whenever I did the thumbs down, I remember it was a Cleveland game. He came up to me. I was just doing it, right? But he kind of gave me these words to use behind it. And so whenever we ran out the tunnel against Philly, I didn't know that he was at the game. And so we kind of hit each other, whatever, and we did the thumbs down thing. And so, me and Mark, we have that relationship and that friendship. And, I plan on playing in the league for a very long time. And so maybe if he's still doing the same thing, he could put a couple good words in for me, so maybe I can get that job.
Yeah, I saw him after the Philly game, and he big hug and so happy. And I'm like, man, we just lost.
Right.
Like, what are you doing? He's like, it's going to be fine, Erin. I'm like, okay, whatever, Mark. Yeah. Like, he's always just in a good mood. And I love that about him. You've been doing a lot, and as you have since you've been here in the community. But now that you kind of established yourself a little bit more on this team, what has been the interaction with some of the kids that you've gone out to see at some of these community events?
It's been great. Like I said, I kind of have it set up to where a lot of people can't message me on social media, but some guys find a way to get into my request box. And so, I kind of go in there and you see kids from different schools asking me to come out to their football games on Friday and things like that. And, I'm only one person, so I can only move so much. But, that's always been the dream, to give somebody else hope, right? And give somebody else some faith. And I know when I was a kid in high school, if a NFL guy came to a game or came to spoke to me at school, it would have gave me a different type of motivation. And I didn't have that though. And so, I'm just a people's person. And so I'm not, like I said, I don't do anything really at home. And so on Fridays or Thursdays, like, why not go and watch a football game and help the kids or talk to them about whatever they want to ask questions about. It doesn't cost anything to do that. And so it's just the kindness of my heart that I have to give back to those guys. And there's more schools that I want to go to that I'm going to try my best to make my way to this year. But, I motivate this community in the best way that I can. And one thing I love is that Tyron kind of tells me, keep going. I'll post something, when I went to Kennedy, and I posted the little thumbs down where I walked in. They gave me the thumbs down before and I was like, wow, right? But Tyron, slid up on it and kind of said, bro, this is the type of stuff that I love to see. And he's like, the city loves you. Don't ever forget that. And so it means a lot to me because, like you said, I'm starting to establish myself. I'm not there yet, but to see these young kids look at me and it motivates them. And so when we lose a game or whatever, I have to be mindful that there's other people that's looking at me. And so I have to be careful with not being too emotional or being down and then I'm mad, being mad or whatever. So I just make sure I know that I got a lot of eyes looking at me, and I still get a lot of love from back at home as well. And I'm looking to, donate some money back to my high school here soon. And I actually just closed off on a little donation to a new school out here in New Orleans. I don't have the full details as far as the name, but I did donate some money to a school out here. So just keep going from there, and I'm gonna let God do the rest. So
are you gonna have an Alontae Taylor gym at your old high school?
Nah,
Stadium,
I ain't gonna do that. Nah, I kind of wanna get them boys a new field. I want to get them boys a turf field, and I kind of want the field to be named after me. That's in the works with conversations and things like that. But I come from a small town, and so whatever little bit that I can do for them, I want to make sure that I can do that. But the biggest thing is just about getting athletes to the next level from a small school. It doesn't even have to be the NFL or college football, right? Like, we got our girl basketball team is really good. So, like, why aren't they going to bigger schools? So just trying to figure out ways that I can give money back to them, rather it be traveling and playing in bigger tournaments for them, rather it be flying somewhere instead of having to try to take a charter bus 8 hours, right? So whatever I can do to help them get recruited and get looked at, that's what I want to do.
Well, you'll be able to be on a big stage on Monday night that they'll be able to watch you on and say, man, this guy came from right where I am right now. Yeah. Being on that stage, Monday Night Football, only game on against defending champs, how do you even approach that?
Erin, to be honest, people might not think about it too much, but to me personally, this is like a redemption game. My last primetime game, I actually, if I remember correctly, I got benched at the end of the game against the Rams for having bad eyes, right? Like, getting emotional and making bad decisions. And so for me, I'm really proving it to myself that the lights aren't too big, right? The stage isn't too big. And I don't want anyone to look at the Rams game and think maybe the stage was too big for Alontae. Going against Stafford, who was on a roll, Cooper Kupp, right? Like, their offense, is very exotic with all the motions. I was new to the position. There was a lot going on. And so for me personally, this is like a redemption game to prove it to myself that these last 4 games, they aren't flukes, right? Like, I'm actually improving. I'm an improved player. And so I'm super excited for the opportunity. I know us as a team, we are, it is what it is. We're 2-2, but we know that we should be and could be 4-0, and this could be the prime time, like a bigger game. But the guys are approaching it. Having a Monday night game, you get an extra day, and so we're taking that in account, and we're making sure we're doing everything that we're supposed to do. And I'll say it, like, the Chiefs haven't played a defense or a team like the New Orleans Saints. And so this is going to be a very interesting game to everybody. And people might give me backlash for saying that, but if you look at the numbers on our defensive side of the ball, we've been playing really good defense. So we're going to go out there and play good defense, play sound defense. And we know the things that Mahomes brings, right? Elite guy, Hall of Fame guy, and, his guys over there with Kelsey and Worthy, and hate to see that happen to Rice. But, Andy Reid, he's a smart guy, and he's going to figure out his pieces and get his offense ready to go out there and play on Monday. And we're going to get our pieces together, and we're going to go out there and play on Monday, and then we'll see what happens Monday night.
Can we talk this first interception, picking off Patrick Mahomes, maybe even pick 6 into existence here? Yeah, we can do all that for sure. I'm just going to do my job. And I think the thing, if you watch a lot of games with the Chiefs, a lot of guys, they know who they're playing. I'm playing Patrick Mahomes, right? And I got to make a play against him. Like, he's the best in the game, right? And so I think if we do our job, right, and we put our eyes in the right place and we guard the guys multiple times, because if you look at their offense, it isn't just a slant route and balls out. It's Mahomes scrambles and guys scramble with them, the plaster drill, and guys get open and they catch the ball and they just get a lot of yards after the catch. And so put our eyes in the right place, guard our guys as many times as we need to guard them, make sure we're in shape, and we go out there and we just play ball and fly around. I think that we'll end up finding the ball on our side, and I'm definitely going to find that ball if Mahomes gives me the opportunity. All right. I love it. It's always a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for giving me so much of your time and filling us in on how everything's been going this year.
No doubt. I appreciate you.
Great stuff, as always, from Alontae. I'll be back for a deeper dive into the matchup with Kansas City, what we need to look out for in that game on Monday night tomorrow. So I'll talk to you again on Friday.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast.